Welcome to the first episode of our Skyblivion dev diary. For the past few years, our team has been chipping away at a seemingly impossible feat to remake the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion in the latest Elder Scrolls engine. While we are still a ways out, we hope that this series will show you how far one of the most ambitious modding projects of our generation has come, and where we are headed. Welcome to the making of Skyblivion. In order to understand how far we've come and what Skyblivion is, we need to go back to where it began. Skyblivion started as a one-man passion project from a well-known member of the Elder Scrolls modding community. In 2012, less than a year after Skyrim was released, a modder by the name of Zilev created a tool that converted Oblivion's data into a format that could be loaded into Skyrim. This is where the project we know as Skyblivion today drew its first breath. At the time, this tool only converted parts of the game, and Zilev was working on this by himself. Shortly after the first images popped up online, another programmer joined the project and offered to help fine-tune the tool. This build, if you can even call it that, we now call version 0.1. It laid the foundation for the project, but it did not look like the Cyrodiil you might remember. A lot of the data was misconverted or lost, leaving Cyrodiil a nearly empty landmass. It suffered from constant crashes, and it was ripe with bugs. With the help of some volunteers, Zilev and Monocleus created a somewhat stable build in 2014. While much of the work still remained, this build was sturdy enough for others to begin working on the project. It was around this time that Rebel's Eyes joined in order to help manage the project and build out a PR strategy. Although the first contributions to Skyblivion were made in 2012, the project didn't really take off until 2016, when we released our first trailer. With a lot more eyes on the project, our membership spiked. More resources and manpower meant the project could progress at a faster rate, and updates became increasingly more frequent. Textures, models, characters, terrain, UI, music, geography, and everything else you will see in Skyblivion has been recreated from scratch. Skyblivion isn't just a prettier version of Oblivion, it's a AAA Elder Scrolls experience that our team will deliver to the community, free of charge. With a world space of roughly 57 square kilometers, or 22 square miles, our goal of recreating Cyrodiil is not an easy one. For comparison, Skyrim's world map was about 36.7 kilometers, or 14.5 square miles. One of Oblivion's most important features is its colorful high fantasy setting. No matter where you were or what time of year it was, when you hopped into Oblivion, the sun was pleasant, the grass green, and the world seemed perfect. We can assure you that fans of the original game will feel right at home in Skyblivion. However, don't expect everything to look exactly the same. From the lush green heartlands to the bleak, humid bogs of Blackwood, each region will have its own unique ecosystem, color palette, design, and feel. While we all love Oblivion, its generated world left a lot to be desired. Skyblivion will correct that. For many of Cyrodiil's regions, our team went back to the drawing board to revitalize and diversify the world. Using pre-established lore and a bit of creative license, we are crafting a vibrant, atmospheric game world that rivals that of a AAA open-world game. In order to achieve this level of detail, our 3D team has been hard at work creating a breadth of environmental assets for our landscapers to use in Cyrodiil's rebirth. Since Skyblivion is being built in the latest creation engine, we are able to push its graphical capabilities to its limits. A majority of this work is done by using the Creation Kit, a tool used to import our game models and build the environments from the ground up. As such, we are able to place more plants and assets in a single area compared to Oblivion. This means denser forests, more realistic biomes, and a more detailed world. Thanks to these technological advancements, our environment feels much richer and full of wonder as you explore the province. Our landscaping team is nearly finished with the first pass of Cyrodiil's world map. This first pass focused on the major changes to the geography of Cyrodiil, such as adding higher mountains, longer shores, larger forests, and swampier swamps. With this first pass nearing completion, we have put more time and effort into adding finer details to our overworld. One of our major goals for Skyblivion's environment is to reward exploration. As such, we have hidden treasures all over the map, in the most peculiar of places, which only the most sharp-eyed explorers will uncover. I should mention that lots of these treasures can be found following clues and signs of previous human interactions, so keep your eyes open, adventurers. Oblivion originally had a total of 2,663 interiors. Skyblivion's goal is to remake all the different types of interiors to fit their purpose in the original setting. Shops will be showing the goods on sale, guilds will reflect their cultures, houses will mirror the owner's economic status, and caves will serve a purpose, such as housing a tribe of goblins or being used as a mine by locals. Currently, we are still in the early stages of development when it comes to interiors. Our priority until now was completing our first pass of the overworld. But with that almost done, we are ramping up production on interiors. The nice thing about working on interiors is that the claims are rather small compared to the overworld claims. This means they can be divided more easily and worked on in sprints. As we speak, we are focusing on the easier locations, such as houses, inns, and shops, to get a good feel for the workflow and a general theme. Since the majority of our interiors consist of these, this is as good a place to start as any. Down the road, as more tile sets get finalized, we will be tackling more intricate locations, such as castles, dungeons, Daedric realm interiors, and quest locations, such as the beloved Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary. Oblivion had a total of 8,032 3D objects, the majority of which we need to recreate in order to ship Skyblivion. Remaking these assets is no easy feat. Luckily, we have a large team of dedicated 3D artists working on assets that range from spoons to full armor sets. Although Skyblivion is a volunteer project, we do set a high standard for the visual quality of our assets. Every asset created for the project is vital for its completion. Without clutter, our level designers will not be able to fill our shops with goods and our dungeons with loot. Creating clutter for the project sounds easy enough, but it's not as simple as creating a single spoon. Clutter claims are handed out in complete batches. This means a 3D artist is responsible for creating an entire collection of middle-class dishes and cutlery. While this may seem strange, it's important to us that all our assets feel complementary to one another. Other assets, such as weapons and armor, take a bit more planning in order to be remade. Oblivion has not aged all that well when it comes to its weapons and armors, and as such, our concept department has redesigned all of them. Weapon and armor specialists take these concepts and turn them into a 3D model. These pieces usually take a decent chunk of time, but the end result is always worth it. Clothes are another big part of the 3D department, and have a big impact on how players will experience crowded cities and noisy inns. Due to the wide variety of clothing options which can be separated into low, middle, and high classes, the player will be able to identify how rich or poor a city or district is, simply by looking at the people passing by. Our clothes are in good hands at the moment, but more help is always appreciated. Remaking the creatures of Oblivion is another major part of the project. Because you'll be fighting a lot of monsters on your adventures through Cyrodiil, we put extra care and attention into recreating them. When remaking creatures, we first come up with a nice concept based on Oblivion's original creatures, then add a twist of our own. After this stage, our 3D artists that are specialized in characters and monsters can get to work and breathe new life into the creatures we once knew. After the 3D models are finalized and approved, the asset is put into the game and tested by slaying it over and over and over. One of the biggest remaining challenges is architecture. One of Oblivion's strengths lies in its unique designs for all major cities. Every city has its own backstory and design, which we aim to preserve. As such, all cities will require a complete remake, and no one city can be the same. Architecture itself is not difficult to work on, but the claims are big, and the amount of experienced 3D artists are few. Due to this, progress in this department, although steady, can be slow at times. For any veteran or new 3D artists who are interested in working on assets in a fantasy setting, this might be a nice opportunity to get some experience in a large team. Like with 3D models, Oblivion also had a huge library of textures. In order to capture Oblivion's high fantasy design, we have decided to remake our textures from scratch, as opposed to using the cooler themed textures from Skyrim. What this means is that the world will be covered in high-resolution textures for grasses, rocks, dirt, and more, with textures up to 4K in resolution, all of them trying to capture the original Oblivion feeling, but bigger and better. On top of that, we have big texture projects such as cities that will require specialized texture artists. The cities in Cyrodiil are located in different biomes and vary in wealth. As such, we try to really double down on the specific themes and locations these cities are involved with. From the wealthy and warm castle of Skingrad to the damp and rotten city of Bravil, each will have their own look and feel when we are done with them. Another part of Oblivion's aesthetic that we really wanted to somehow incorporate into Skyblivion was its iconic UI. Skyblivion needed something soft, elegant, and not as dark and Nordic as Skyrim's UI. After a few failed UI attempts, we decided to go back to the drawing board. This time around, we tried to convert and redesign Skyrim's UI to make it more like Oblivion. Whereas before we tried to reinvent the UI completely, we now try to treat it a bit more like changing your Windows theme. Some early sketches and drawings look pretty nice, and sooner or later we finally had a plan of action that we could start to design and implement into our game. If you have thoughts on what could still be improved or changed about this, we are all ears. Music is the cherry on the beautiful, deep, fantastical, and sometimes goofy cake that is Oblivion. Oblivion originally only had 26 minutes of exploration music, compared to Skyrim's whopping 1 hour and 28 minutes. That's quite a big difference. With Skyblivion, we're not looking to replace any of Oblivion's iconic tracks, so you can put down your pitchforks and torches. We do, however, intend to further enhance the musical experience. Two huge Oblivion fans and professional composers have taken it upon themselves to write additional musical scores for the different geographical locations of Cyrodiil, to make them not only look more unique, but also sound like it. This way, we hope the music will further drive home the excellent work our landscapers have done on Cyrodiil's open world. Oblivion wouldn't be Oblivion without its iconic and unique mechanics in place. As such, we are trying our hardest to recreate these mechanics. Some examples would be spellcrafting, quick casting, underwater combat, and more. Creating these mechanics is not done with the flip of a switch. Our dedicated team of coders and programmers works around the clock to create tools and write scripts that allow us to replicate these mechanics in the latest creation engine. This is not the only thing our coding department focuses on. The main priority is the quest conversion from Oblivion to Skyrim. With a total of 219 quests that need to be implemented, we have our work cut out for us. Using custom-build tools, the coding department is in the process of converting all Oblivion's data and repurposing it in a format that can be used in Skyrim's engine. This process is incredibly difficult, and no such thing has ever been attempted yet in modding history, as far as we know. Lastly, coders are in charge of making the world feel more alive. By giving NPC schedules, creating timed events, the world feels much richer and alive. As for every other artistic aspect of the game, the designs don't hold up well for today's standards. The concept art department had a key role in re-envisioning many of Oblivion's designs, from props to weapons and armor, all the way to landscape and locations. We usually go through an iterative process of ideation sketching, feedback and polish of the concept, so it's ready for 3D artists to tackle. The skill sets on the team are quite diverse, as some people specialize in creature design, others in clothes or environments, and some in weapons and items. Although our skill sets are diverse, the common goal is the same: to create a high fantasy game filled with knights, beasts and monsters, as fair and beautiful as your imagination can provide. What started out as a simple side project has evolved into one of the biggest modding projects to date. Despite the massive scope of this project, we are finally seeing the end of the road, but there is still much to be done. We hope this video has given you a better idea of the work involved and how you can help contribute. Only with the Elder Scrolls modding community's combined talents can we make this happen. This is a chance for mod authors to be a part of something big, so check out our volunteer page on Skyblivion.com. We hope you continue to support us as you have been for years, and we are excited to share all we have accomplished.